guys, it's Reeno. Welcome to another Q&A video. This time I thought I would ask questions on Twitter and Instagram because I tend to get different questions there. People that follow me on there tend to see more of what I do because I do post a lot more things on Twitter and Instagram than I do on YouTube. And I'm thinking of doing that from this point going forward as well. So if you don't want to miss out on any future Q&As, if you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, my links are in the description below, then you won't miss out on any future Q&As. But yeah, here we go. I thought I'd write down some of the Instagram ones because I asked the questions as a story and didn't realise that obviously it runs out of time and I couldn't film it within the same day because stuff came up. Spicy's mum's not very well at the moment, so we're having to take care of her at the moment, as you would have seen in his video. So yeah, I had to write them down so they didn't disappear and be gone forever. So I think I'll probably go through those first. There's not many there, and then I'll go through Twitter and do those. So MLJH31 asks, you have 6 eggs, you break 2, fry 2, eat 2. How many eggs are left? I don't like these questions. It's probably going to be easier because I've got it written down.
A few moments later.
4. I say 4 eggs are left because you've only eaten 2. That took me too long to work that out. I'm not good at maths, okay. I haven't got the whole of your name on here. I've only got part of it, which is Huckleberry Ban. It might be Bandit, I'm not sure. They asked, how many 5-year-olds do you think you can take in a fight? What sort of question is that? Going on the fact that I'm pretty much the same height as most 10-year-olds, I'd probably say about no more than 3. Because if you think about it, if you've got one will grab one leg, one will grab the other leg, and you've only got one more to fight. If there's any more than that, that's it, I'm probably going down. A funny story is actually, I have been attacked by a group of 5-year-olds once before in my life, and it was not fun. Daniel Bailey, 1989, asks, what's your best clothing you like wearing? I tend to really like wearing vest tops, shorts. I like skirts and dresses, but I just can't really wear them. Obviously, if you spend your life riding a motorcycle, you don't get much opportunity to wear dresses and stuff. So I enjoy doing that. I enjoy getting dressed up, but I don't often do it. So I enjoy t-shirts, vest tops. I like having my arms out, and shorts. Nick Rock 707 asks, how do you deal with your anxiety? I'll be honest with you, I do find it difficult. I haven't fully got it under control, but Spicy helps me a lot with that. He is basically like my therapist. Some days I find it really easy to deal with and everything is fine, and then I'll get some days where I'm having so much anxiety for, sometimes there'll be a reason, sometimes there'll be literally no reason at all, and that's the times I find it the hardest to deal with because I don't know why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, but I know that my body is reacting in a certain way and it makes it hard to sort out. But if I get days like that, which literally I had yesterday as well, then I normally just take some time to chill out, find something to do to keep my mind occupied, because if I sit down and let my mind think, then it just spirals out of control. So I'll try and do something to distract myself. A lot of the times I don't really know that I'm being anxious or going through something, but I realise it after I've come out of it. So I'll have some episode and Spicy will be aware of it because he'll be saying stuff to me and I won't really get it at the time, but then afterwards I'll realise, oh yeah, I was just being the way that I'm being when I'm really anxious. So yeah, I deal with it in a lot of different ways. The worst way that I deal with it actually is ignoring it and pretending it doesn't exist. That's a bad way to deal with it. Don't do that. If you need to talk to someone, talk to someone. It's very important to be open and let people know how you're feeling. Don't bottle it up and let it overrun you. That is a bad way to deal with it, and that's what I was doing to start with. But I'm getting better at dealing with it. Caleb Aaron Tate says, if you had the chance, would you plan a meet-up like the Sausage Fest? Maybe. I don't know. It's a bit of a tricky one because obviously the Sausage Fest was started with Spicy, Renna and Phil. They did the first one together, and then they did one every year after that, and I became friends, really good friends, well, I say mainly became friends with Spicy on the first Sausage Fest, and then went to all the others since. But my only issue with it is if I do hold a meetup, because I'm also with Spicy, I would worry that people would only go just to see Spicy and not to see me, which would defeat the point of me having a meetup for my subscribers to meet me, if you see what I mean. So there's that. And also, I don't know, I think it would be a bit weird because it always seems like the meetups were like Spicy's thing, and if I do one, it would just be a bit strange. But then I also feel like I know people want a meetup, and it's almost like trying to get me to do one instead so that there's at least something to attend. I don't really know, to be honest. Maybe, maybe not. I don't think I've really got enough subscribers really for to have my own meetup yet, but we'll see. K Vampire asks, what do you like drawing / painting? I enjoy sketching more than anything else. I'm not very good at painting. I like painting, I love painting. I'm trying to practice watercolours at the moment, but I find it difficult because I can't wrap my head around how it works. I haven't got the fundamentals down yet, but sketching is something that I can do and I really enjoy doing. If I'm sketching, I like to sketch faces, I like to practice drawing faces, I like to draw bodies, people in different forms. I mainly like to draw fantasy things. That sort of stuff sparks my interest, so that's why I tend to draw those type of things. But I haven't done it in a very long time, so my skills have kind of gone down a little bit. But what I do say is the more you practice, the better you will become, because my sketching to start with was horrendous, and it's not amazing, but it's a lot better than it was when I first started. Brave O'Breeze? Brave O'Breeze? I can't really pronounce it, I'm sorry. It says, what is your next bike? Nothing at the moment. I'm quite happy with my 500. I have no plans to change it, and I don't think I really need anything else or any bigger bikes at the moment, so happy with that. And that's all the Instagram questions. So now we move on to Twitter, which I've got quite a few more on here. Guy Hayder asks, how are you so cool? I don't know, I've never really felt cool in my life, to be fair. I have had maybe one or two people think that it's interesting that I ride a bike. Like I've had another woman come up to me and be like, oh wow, that's so cool you ride bikes, but I never really feel cool because I'm just so awkward and clumsy. It's just, I don't feel it myself, but thank you. May Crotch says, hey Reeno, love your vids as always. My question is, if you had to spend 24 hours up in a tree with someone famous from the 19th century, who would it be? Also, if you had to prepare a picnic basket for you and Spicy, what would you put inside? You're a star, from Reeno Rambler number 2033. Oh gosh, there's a lot of in one. From the 19th century? I don't really know. I don't even know who was around in the 19th century. I can't remember. I'm not very good at history or geography or maths. Everything else is fine. Not sure. If I had a picnic basket, I would put sandwiches, fruits, juice, and just any party food. I love any party food. Adam MWV asks, what is it like still riding your 125 after you passed your test? Good. Actually, it's really good. My riding improved so much after I did my full license, because you get to knock off all the bad habits that you had when you're riding around on your 125, like just doing your own thing, and you learn a lot more as well. You learn how to control a bigger bike, which is slightly different to a 125, but also a lot easier. So then when you get back on your 125, I felt so much more prepared, I felt so much more confident, and I became such a better rider after passing my test. It was kind of annoying to start with because I was like, I really want a big bike. I've got my license now, but it was amazing taking off the L plates. It was amazing being able to ride on the motorway. It made my life a lot easier, even though it was a bit sketchy because my 125 only did like up to 70, and trying to do that on a motorway is scary as hell. So that was bad, but it was good because it meant I could get places faster. and I had no need for a pillion or anything, but it meant I could if I wanted to. So it made things a lot easier, and after a while I just forget about it, and I was quite happy on my 125, but I did want to have a bigger bike. That was kind of my goal, and then I got it in the end. I think I had my license for 2 years before I actually got a bigger bike, and I've only had that bike for just over a year and almost a half. So there's no real rush to it. It is good, it will help you improve. So good luck. I know you recently passed it, so well done. Don't worry if you're on your 125 for a few years before you get a bigger bike. There's no rush really. A 125 will do everything you need it to, apart from going on the motorway. That's a bit sketchy, but everything else it will do. Century Bugs says, can you shake your hands with yourself behind your back? One arm over the shoulder and the other from the bottom. I'm not falling for your trick. I've been asked this before and I know what you're up to. I know you. But yes, I can. I can do it with one arm better than the other. I think this arm going back behind my back, I can grab my hands like this, but this arm doing it is very difficult. I've got a bit of a bad shoulder. So the more I do that, probably the easier it'll become, and then I'll have looser shoulders. Bulldog Badger asks, who is your biggest inspiration in life? I would say my first inspiration was my dad. I remember having a school homework that we had to do. We had to write like who we were inspired by. People were writing like it could be anyone. So most people wrote about a celebrity they liked, but I wrote about my dad, which is a bit of a backstory. My dad is not my biological dad, but to me he is my dad because he's been there throughout the whole of my life. I think my mum and him were officially together when I was 1, and when I was 2 and my other sister was 1, I think. And obviously they've had a kid together now, so it makes her technically my half sister, but to me she's my full sister because I've known her my whole life. But yeah, I picked him as my inspiration, my first inspiration, because my mum had a bit of a bad relationship to start with. He was also in a bad relationship as well, but so I feel like he treats her very well, but also my dad is disabled. He has a condition that I can never remember the name of it. It's not a very common thing, but basically he gets like growths that go in the bottom of his feet that grow up into the nerves of his feet, which makes it extremely difficult to walk. So he can't really get around much. He normally just stays in the house, but if he ever needs to go out of the house, he normally has to be in a wheelchair. Or if he's not walking too far, he can take a walking stick. But if he's got to go out, like, he doesn't really go out shopping, but if he did, which they used to in the past, then he would need to be in a wheelchair. He also has double vision and is partially sighted, so he became my inspiration because I thought, well, doing all of that stuff, he still takes care of everyone and he still does his best for my mum, and does as much as he can do, and he takes care of the family, and he was my inspiration for that reason. He just carries on and powers through, basically. Even though he's got all those things going on, he still does mostly what he wants to do. My great-grandma's always inspired me. She was just such a kind, loving person, and I just loved that about her. I loved her personality, so that was one thing I really, really liked, and that inspired me a lot in life. But the main people that inspire me now would be my favourite YouTuber, which is Lindy Sang, also known as Bub's Beauty and Bub's Vlogs. Just her attitude on life, I really like how she sees things, and I've watched her for a very long time, so it's actually crazy to think of how long I've actually spent watching videos on YouTube. It's probably a bit sad, but so I've kind of grown up with her, and how she's kind of grown up as well alongside it, and just the way she sees life, the way she does things, I just really resonate with that. And my biggest inspiration at the moment would be actually Spicy himself, because he just gets so much done when he needs to do it. He is a bit of a workaholic, but he really powers through, does everything he needs to do. Everything he has now he's got because he's worked towards it very hard. So that inspires me, that the willpower and determination he has to do what he wants is what really inspires me. He inspires me every day, so he is actually my biggest inspiration at the moment. But yeah, there's a few people that inspire me in life. Bick Mitchum, or Mitchum Bick, says, if you had a boat, what would you name it? I don't know. boat a Reeno 3000. I really don't know, to be honest. I don't think I'll ever have a boat, to be fair. SNTR 101, also known as Richard, asks, "Hey Reeno, I've just arrived in Poland on holiday. We're having a huge thunderstorm, which hilariously freaks out the missus. How do you fare with thunder and lightning?" I really enjoy thunder and lightning storms. I like to sit in and watch outside, watch all the lightning go, listen to the thunder. I love it. The only thing I don't like is if it's at night time, because I freak out if like lightning goes off and it cuts the power off and I'm in complete darkness. I will freak out. But other than that, I really enjoy it. We used to have in my old house this like wooden gazebo that we had built so that we could walk. When it was raining, you wouldn't get wet, so you could literally go outside the house and sit there while the storm was going on, and I find it so relaxing. So yeah, I like them. Cascadian, or Casper, says, "Would you rather have finger-sized legs or leg-sized fingers?" What? Finger-sized legs or leg-sized fingers? I think probably finger-sized legs, because if you've got legs for fingers, it's going to be really difficult to do anything, isn't it? If you have finger-sized legs, you're just going to be short, and I'm short anyway, so it wouldn't make much difference. Hippo Drones asks, "Jam then cream or cream then jam?" Do you know what? I always do cream and then jam, even though it probably makes more sense to do it the other way around, because the way that I see it is the cream is very spreadable, isn't it? So I always spread that on first and I put the jam on top, but jam can be lumpy, so it probably makes more sense to put the jam on first and then put the cream on after, because you have the lumpy bit and then you've got the smooth bit going on. It'll be easier to spread. It's a lot harder to do it when you do the cream first and the jam after, but that's how I do it. I always do it that way, and I always cut it in half, do that, and then squidge it together like a big sandwich and eat it that way. Maximus Two Wheels says, "What is the square root of otters?" Cuteness. Dark Wolf Alpha JS says, or John T asks, "Have you ever suffered with an injury from motorcycle riding?" Yes, I have made a video about this in the past where I talked about my first main crash. But yeah, I have a scar on my arm here, which you might not be able to see because it's kind of faded now. There you go, if it focuses. And I also have two scars on my hips. So this scar and the one on my hip came from the same crash, and then when I had that crash where the cyclist hit me, I also gained another one on my hip, but they've kind of merged into one thing together now. So I've also got, I can't really show you because I can't really reach, but yeah, I've got two there. This one actually came from, I had a textile jacket at the time, and they had like little poppers on so you could tighten up the arms, and when I crashed I landed like on this side and the popper went straight into my arm and it really hurt. I fractured my ankle as well in that same crash, and that hurt more than my fractured ankle, which made no sense to me, but it really hurt. I thought I'd broken my elbow to start with, but I didn't break my elbow. It just really, really hurt for some reason. But yeah, I had a bit of road rash and yeah, fractured my ankle. So that's the only things that have really happened. Stabbed by a metal thing, road rash twice, and a fractured ankle. And that's the injuries I've had whilst riding. And bruises. Camberwell86 asks, "When did you know you wanted a bike? How did your folks react to the news? Any desire to get a car, or is it two wheels for life? My crazy motorbike mate has FTW tattooed on his neck, which he tells kids he actually means forever two wheels, but it actually means fuck the world." Well, I suppose if it's letters, you can just make anything up, couldn't you? It could be for the win, it could be feel the, oh, maybe I shouldn't continue that actually. Fear the wombats. That's what it's going to mean from now on. It's quite interesting actually. I've always been interested in bikes, but I never thought I would have one, which I've said a million times before in other videos. I first went to get a bike because when I was at uni, I was getting the bus everywhere and I wanted to have a car. So I was originally doing driving lessons, which my uncle was doing for me because he is a driving instructor. So whenever he had spare time, he'd give me a lesson for free, but it meant that I couldn't have continuous lessons because he would only do it if he had free time, because obviously everyone else was paying, and that was a priority, so fair enough. But I managed to learn how to drive, but I couldn't really afford to get a car at the time, so I thought, well, maybe I'll just get a scooter. But I didn't really want a scooter, and my boyfriend who I was with at the time, he said, well, why don't you get a 125, because it'll be a bit safer than a scooter. It's a geared bike rather than an auto bike, so I prefer geared things anyway, geared cars. I would prefer to ride a geared car than an auto car. So I just booked a CBT, did it, and loved it. And even though my CBT was a bit confusing because I did half of it on the 125 geared bike and half of it on a 125 scooter, I knew that I didn't want to give up there, and I actually booked an extra lesson with a different place, did a day with them, and felt so much more confident, and knew then I definitely want a motorcycle, I'm gonna get one. It was quite interesting because just before that, obviously, when I decided that's what I was gonna do, I did a lot of research, watched a lot of YouTube videos, which is how I first found Spicy's videos and everyone else's, and first found out about motovlogging. But yeah, I actually, I'm not very good at like sometimes saying what I want to say to people under pressure, so I knew I was going to have to tell my parents. My dad didn't really he wasn't keen on the idea. My mum had ridden before in the past, so she couldn't really tell me no. So I remember writing out this whole thing, like writing down what I was going to say so that when I went to say it, I wouldn't freak out and say the wrong thing or not say what I wanted to say. So I wrote everything out. I got really prepared. I went into my parents' room and I was like, I'm going to ride a motorcycle and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay for it myself. I'm going to do that. And then like, I didn't even have to go through the script. They accepted it in 1 second. They were like, okay, yep, that's fine. And I'm like, oh, great. So I got all this preparation for nothing. There was no point in it. But yeah, they were very supportive of it. My dad didn't really like the idea to start with, probably because it can be a bit dangerous, especially me being mega clumsy, but I'm a very safe person, so I think he understood that in the end. And my mum was very nervous. She was happy for me to do it and supportive, but very nervous about me riding. I think she was worried that I would like crash and die or something, which is possible, it can happen. So she was saying, as long as you wear stuff where you can be seen and you're not going to be like wearing all black. I was like, fine, I'll get a white helmet. So that's kind of where it started, and yeah, they're fine with it. And why am I being half burnt by the sun and half not? The lighting is a bit crazy today, so sorry guys. You have to just deal with it. I've only got 2 questions left. So I've got P Tower C, I think that's how it's said, Paul Tower C, says how long, no, for God's sake, he says, what has been your longest ride and how far was it? How fast have you been on your big bike? That's a good question because I haven't really gone that far. I couldn't go very far on my 125 because I had the motorway restrictions, and then after I passed my test, I didn't really go anywhere because I had 125 restrictions. It takes a lot of effort for the bike to go long distance. And then when I got my bigger bike, I was just so busy with everything, I just didn't really take a chance to go anywhere because I was a bit nervous when I first got it and I wanted to get used to it. So the first summer that I had it, I didn't really go anywhere, and I haven't really gone anywhere since. I think the furthest I've been, oh god, I can't even think now. I always end up saying like to Chichester, but I don't think that's true because me and Spicy went on a ride together and it was quite a long ride. And I cannot remember where it is. So if I remember, I will put it here. But if I don't, then I'm sorry. I don't know. Not very far, to be fair. How fast have I been on my big bike? I'm not sure if I should say, really. But I have gone over the speed limit once. It was on the motorway, it was on a very straight road, there was no other cars around, and I thought I just want to go a little bit faster to see what it's like, and then come straight back down and went to normal, because I don't like doing bad things and I don't like breaking the driving rules. I'm always so worried a police car will come out of nowhere, so I always try and keep to the speed limit. Yeah, I've gone over the speed limit once before, but not that fast really. And then last question is from One Major Ryan, who asks, will you ever get a car or will you stay with motorbikes all your life? I had planned to have both, so I feel like I will be riding forever. That's how I see it. I don't really need to have a car, but I think it would be useful to have a driving license and a car at some point in my life. So maybe one day I will have a car and a car license at least, but there's no real rush for it at the moment, and I don't really have a need for a car, so bikes will always be the priority. I would rather have a bigger bike and a really cheap runaround car than the other way around, so that's kind of how I'd see it. Plus, if I do get a car, it's going to have to fit Spicy in there, and he is a very tall man. So I don't know what it'll be, but I feel like if I do get a car, it'll be something cheap, something that will run around. I don't need something expensive because I'm barely going to use it, because I'm going to always be riding my bike. Because I don't care, raining or whatever, I'll still ride it. And if I can't ride, then I normally end up public transport, which I don't really like, but you can't really. I'd rather be safer than dead or something, you know. But yeah, that's all the questions. So thanks for that, guys. That was good fun. I always really enjoy doing the Q&As. They're really fun to do. I just like talking to I talk forever. I can talk for England, which is good, but also bad because I sometimes talk too much, then it becomes hard to edit. But yeah, I think I will probably do Q&As like this going forward, as I said at the beginning of the video. So if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, you've got more chance of asking me questions if I do one again, which I will do at some point, don't know when. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!